Hello, beautiful light-filled souls. I want to do something a little bit different today and read you a poem from my upcoming book, Loving Narcissus and Sometimes God. Certainly, there's a lot of talk in our culture about narcissism and how empaths are often attracted to narcissists. I began writing this poem many years ago, and I've finished the collection recently, and I'm putting it out there because 2020 just seems like the right year to put out into the world this kind of artwork. So I'm not a psychologist. Psychology is my minor, and I read widely. I don't just Google things. Like I've read tons of books on the subject and thought deeply about it, but mostly I'm just a poet. I'm just a writer, and I write from this place of loving the work of many different poets, from Sylvia Plath and Anne Sexton to Sharon Olds, and traditional poets. Of course, I love the spiritual poets, the Rilkes and the Rumis of this world, but this first half of the collection is more traditional academic poetry, and it does have a bit of that fire. So I will just jump in and read from this. I don't think that it's right necessarily to call people out and give them, a diagnosis of a personality disorder, but all abuse is narcissistic abuse. So if you've been emotionally abused in a relationship, then there is a spectrum of narcissism that you're dealing with because it's selfish. The other side shows us one of the most important lessons is to be kind to others, to care about the perspective of others. And narcissists care so very much about their own pains and wounds, and they teach other people to care a lot about these too. And so empaths are natural targets for that because they care about others and they jump in and they want to help. But it's kind of a codependent arrogance on the part of empaths is what I believe. Now that time has gone by and I've thought about this a bit more, that you can't change anyone if they don't want to change. And it's really just this desire of yours to have this relationship or have this romantic connection and make this person into something that maybe they don't want to be, like they don't want to heal, they don't want to change, and they, like being selfish. And so, when an empath tries to enlighten a narcissist, it's a disaster, like for both parties. And so, there can be some humor in all of this, but this poem was written many years ago, but I've continued to play with it. And this is the title poem to the book. So it is titled Loving Narcissus. When Narcissus left for work, I would put on the sandals he wore to feel closer to him. My feet would soak up the remnants of the love he had for his body, his feet, and after a while, I realized that in his mind, I was less important than the ground he walked on. Narcissus on trial. Since both the innocent and the guilty proclaim their innocence, Narcissus took the act farther and decided to believe in his innocence. He imagined he could get away with murder simply by shifting the focus to what hurt him, no matter how slight the injury. As God looks at the heart, Narcissus also gazed into his own heart and identified beauty and confusion. The critical difference between Narcissus and God is that God examines everyone else's hearts as well. Narcissus in denial. Narcissus does not know why events turn out the way they do. When the credits roll, he sees his name as the director of a life astoundingly different from the one he lives. I've watched him drink himself dizzy and repeat a few stories he likes to tell, caring mostly about momentary impressions. The ones with his impression in your eyeball, not lasting ones. What he perceives as reality is truth in his mind, and all things contrary must be twisted to fit. Narcissus is always right, even when wrong. Anger is the only option for someone who can never be wrong. Even if the rule book is opened and Narcissus is shown his error, he will defend himself. To hate him is to compliment him with attention. If you want justice, give him the same indifference he possesses for the feelings of others. Bury him in a quiet, unmarked grave with a single white flower for the many women he pretended to love. Narcissus alone. I stood outside of him and cried as if he represented the concrete slabs of a great unfinished piece of architecture, cold, aborted dreams. As an apparition, a changing memory, a sorceress with powers he hadn't accurately measured. I am more real to him now. At night, I say a few words, and he finally hears me because I'm etched into his mind. Narcissus and wife. I am still the wife of Narcissus, waiting for divorce and wondering why we wed. We barely made marriage last a single season. Now the landscape is winter, 5 of swords, grass like golden hay, and the sun wakes up close to the earth. During the day, my car makes a white streak up and down the interstate and around the loop. At night, I blend in with the brake lights, lost in a jumpy, erratic stream of red. If he ever asks about me, tell him the wind has created a minor ripple in his vision. Give him a camera, a mirror, a voice recorder, anything that creates an echo or image, and he will lose reality in the reflective river of himself. Narcissus forgiven. Pardon him his crimes, for he cannot see what he does to you. Let go of how he betrayed you. We all have a kernel of his self-absorption. Read your resume, listen to your bio. How much of the ugly truth, the failures, betrayals, and breakdowns do you leave out? You don't have to befriend Narcissus, but forgive him like your life depends on forgiveness. If it is easier to cast him out, then do it with authority in the name of Jesus. Cast him out like a demon who pierced your heart with ridged horns and shook the ground of your stability. So just a little fire there. It is poetry, and it is inspired by that type of poetry that calls upon anger as a form of expression. So the first half of the book, Loving Narcissus, deals with a lot of situations like that, the confusion and pain of figuring out who one is in the world and who other people are. The last half of the book, Loving God, is really the spiritual answer, which is always that love of God that adds healing, that adds understanding. And you don't live a good life by blaming and being angry at the past. You live a good life by living in gratitude, by focusing your energy on what you want, by putting into the vortex what it is you want, not what you don't want. And so for some people, art is a way of releasing the past, of setting it on fire, setting it on flames and going, I'm done with that. The door is shut to that, and here is the new existence. And so art is fun, poetry is fun. I love it. It's been my focus in teaching for all these many years, and then my focus in writing since I was 14. But I love the play of words, and also when the other side streams through. So I'll do another video about the more uplifting poems and the ones that have kind of the spiritual answer to the pain. But I thought it was pretty timely, and that there are so many Instagram accounts, and great Instagram accounts, and different people out there talking openly about narcissistic abuse, emotional abuse, and why some people are more vulnerable to that than others. And awfully often those people are empaths, people who just want to care, want to help, and don't realize that they can get harmed in the process, and that really it's not their job to help narcissists. So I hope you enjoyed the poem, and you can see the links below to purchase the ebook. May you be blessed.